Shields up, Ironbreakers. Welcome back to Granblue Fantasy Relink. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the recent showcase that Cygames released for the game, which provided us with a wealth of new information in regards to mechanics and upgrades and all of that good stuff when it comes to the character progression in the game. And naturally, we're also going to be talking about my first impressions of the Granblue Fantasy Relink demo, which was released shortly after that showcase and is currently available on PlayStation. I believe probably both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So if you're even remotely curious about the game, my recommendation is go to the store, download the demo, and check it out for yourself. But anyways, let's get started with my own personal opinions about this demo. So one of the first things that I do have to point out, which is a little bit of a negative in my book, even though it's not really a big deal, it's not really like a deal breaker or anything like that, is the fact that I was expecting the resolution to be a little bit higher in performance mode. Now, to me, I kind of look at the PlayStation 5 as something wherein I feel most games should be baseline 1440p, 60 FPS. That's kind of like the compromise. Most people expect 4K 60 FPS. I'm a little bit more realistic. I don't think that a box that you're buying for $500 or $550 is realistically going to be doing 4K 60 because even big budget PCs sometimes struggle with that, so it's not particularly surprising. So usually the standard that I try to go for is 1440p 60 FPS and I'm a happy man. Now if you give me 1080 at 60, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely something that I instantly notice, particularly because, you know, not every monitor is going to be doing that downscaling appropriately. If you have a 4K monitor of any kind, you know, it's not going to look as good when it's at 1080p, so it's something that instantly jumps to the eye. Now, I should also point out that to me, if you feel like you're going 1440p and you can't really get solid 60, particularly in an action game like this, you might as well go 1080p. So in a way, I'm almost happy that that's what they decide to do, even if I am a little bit disappointed with the limitations of, I don't know, their engine or whatever the problems they ran into that prevented them from going 1440p. Now, the game also features a 4K 30 FPS mode. I haven't really had a chance to test that yet because I've been way too addicted at actually trying to ace all of the missions that we have available in the demo. I'm still missing the rock golem because, you know, I'm still doing several attempts. Just this morning I was going through the rock golem and I was like, you know what, just one more attempt. And then after that I'd be like, hey, you know what, just one more. And then after that 3 hours had gone by and I've been playing this demo doing the same fight 3 hours in a row like an absolute idiot, and I didn't even change my tactics that much, which I probably should have done, probably would have made things easier, but hey, I was having a good time. It is what it is. But anyway, when it comes to the visuals, that would be like the biggest thing that I would complain about. It's just that resolution, I expected it to be a little bit more. Now, other than that, when it comes to the art style of this game is absolutely gorgeous. When it comes to the animations, they are top-notch, and to me, art style and animations are way more important than visual fidelity. So, you know, I just brought up the 1080p thing because I know that a lot of people are going to be wondering about that, and that is only for the console version. I haven't gotten to test the PC version, so I don't know how well optimized it is or anything like that, but I do plan on checking that out when the game actually releases on PC. Now, as I was saying, art style pretty good. Animations, absolutely fantastic. I love them. I love like all of the different animations that I've seen from the different characters so far. Initially, it took me a little bit to kind of come to terms with the combat, as it is with most games, but once I've gotten used to it and once I've started realizing like the different mechanics that each of the characters has, which I'll be talking a little bit more in detail, everything started flowing pretty seamless. Now, one of the other concerns that I do have is in regards to mission variety. Now, why am I bringing this up? So we already know that we have a story campaign that is going to play very much like the story that we have in the demo. Now, I'm expecting that the demo itself is something that is kind of like early into the game because most of the fights in the demo from the story campaign are super easy. There's really nothing there that is that challenging, with one very small exception that I ran into this morning, which appears to be something that's almost like a little bit more of a hidden thing. But for those of you that are curious, like maybe you've done the story mode in the demo and you're like, oh, there wasn't really anything that challenging there. Okay, so I got some news for you. After you go through the first area of the demo, by the time you're about to get to the end, they're going to ask you, hey, are you ready to move to the next area? Or do you want to stay here and check out and see if there's anything else to do? Now, if you're going to be like me, the first time you run through that, you're going to be like, yeah, take me to the next area. Let's go. I want to see what else is on the demo. However, if instead of that you choose, hey, stay here for a little bit longer and let's take a look, you're going to be finding something which is like this red glowing little pillar thing in the ground. And if you activate that, they're going to summon in some level 13 mobs that are going to whoop your ass. So, you know, if you're looking for something a little bit more challenging, that will be the way to go. And by the way, if you defeat all those level 13 mobs in the appropriate amount of time that they give you, they're going to summon another mob that's level 20. That'll give you a little bit more of a challenge, which was a little fun thing to do, but nothing really too hard. I don't know if there's other secrets in the demo, so if you found anything else, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. Like I said, I'm still working on maxing out the score on all of the missions that they give you, which is not a part of the story. So, you know, if that unlocks something else, I'll be sure to check it out, and I'll be sure to let you guys know. But for now, that is my experience with the demo. So, all of that stuff said, it was a really fun experience. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the missions. And now some of you guys are going to say, okay, so how is the combat? How does it feel? And the combat has this interesting thing, which is it is actually very different depending on the character that you are playing. So I'm going to give you the gimmicks of some of the characters that I've played. I mean, I've played all the characters. There's like a full gameplay live stream where I go through all of the characters in the missions and stuff. And, you know, some characters I gelled with, some characters I did not gel with. So I'm going to tell you something of the characters that I had a little bit more mastery in so that you guys can kind of understand how those characters play. So Gran, the way that he works is he's that typical action character when you go, you know, because we're playing on controls, I'm just going to give you the button prompts that most people recognize. It's going to be like square, square, triangle, and that's like one of his combos. Square, 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 triangle, and that's another one of his combos. So basically use the square to combo attacks, and then you use the triangle to finish, and depending at which point you finish the attack in, it's going to give you a different attack. Now, the way that this works is the more combo finishers you perform, it's going to do something to his arts, which raises his arts levels. And this, then you can do like your skills, because each character is going to have 4 skills. I talked about this in previous videos. These 4 skills you're going to be able to change around, and that's kind of like how you define your build. I'll talk more about that in a bit. But what you have to know about Gran's mechanic is that the more you do this as you reach Arch level 4, that means that you can do more powerful skills. So his whole thing is you charge up your skills with your combos, and then you cast skills that will deal more damage or heal your allies more or prevent more damage, because Gran is kind of like a jack of all trades. So he can actually perform multiple roles. In a lot of ways, he can become kind of like a tank and protect your characters from taking damage. He can also heal your character, so he can also take a bit of a healing role if needed be, or he can go full out offensive if that's what you want to do. This game doesn't really have a holy trinity system, at least not in the demo, so there's no traditional, you know, RPG parties. Not that you would expect that from an action game, but just in case people are wondering if that is the case or not. So that is like Gran's thing. Now, another character that you have, which is the gunner, Rurikhan. Rurikhan is actually very interesting. So the way that he works is you're supposed to keep the square button pressed to get his basic shots, and that is going to cause him to fire a 3-burst shot if you keep it pressed. And then you're supposed to press it again, but you're supposed to time it rhythmically. And I believe that the timing is about when your hits are about to land on the boss. You go like ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Like, you'll get it very quickly when you're supposed to do it, and you get like this red flash on your character whenever you do it right. So you're supposed to do this, and this is going to build up your heat gauge really, really fast. When your heat gauge is built up all the way, then you can charge your triangle attack, because it's going to be charged really, really fast. Because usually if you try charging your triangle attack without the heat gauge being built up, it's going to be super slow. So the idea is build up your heat gauge and then do charge attack, and that's going to consume heat gauge, and then you build up your heat gauge again. Has a bunch of skills that you can also fire off. You can buff your allies, you can buff himself, and he deals a ton of damage. Potentially one of the more powerful characters because he can shoot from range. Like, you can just seriously sit a little bit more in the back and just kind of like pop off all of your shots like a boss, and it feels really nice. It's actually very impactful. I like Rurikhan. Rurikhan is a very fun character. So that's kind of like his gimmick, right? And then if you change to something like Charlotta, which was a character that I wasn't sure I was going to like or not, she seemed kind of cool. Started playing her, it turns out she might be my favorite character of those that are available on the demo. Now, Charlotta is one of those small characters, and she's got like a really big sword. And so what she does is she just starts slashing away like a maniac. So if you mash square, she just starts slashing super fast. That's her thing. She slashes super fast. Then you press triangle, she's going to jump into the air and do a special attack that deals a little bit more damage, kind of like her combo finish. But the cool thing is that her triangle attack also acts as a parry. So if an enemy is coming at you and is about to do an attack while you're slashing super fast at him, you can parry the attack with triangle, and then as Charlotta lands in the ground again, you can continue slashing away with impunity, and it feels absolutely great. She has other skills that kind of like give her more advantages in this. So she has this skill which is a buff for herself, which as she slashes, the more she slashes, the more damage she deals until she takes a hit, which kind of reinforces that whole parry playstyle that you can get with Charlotta, which feels really, really cool. Then there's a couple of more characters, like I know that a lot of people are going to ask me about Narmaya, which is the character that's got the katana and the pink dress. Her whole thing, from what I can tell, again, it's not really a character that I'm too interested in playing, so I didn't explore her gimmick too much, but she can swap between two stances. One of those stances is about charging attacks. The other stance is about being able to do a sequence of attacks. And the way that it appears to work from what I've played of her, which was not that much, is you're supposed to go into the one that lets you chain attacks together, and then at the end of the combo, you swap into the other stance, and then she does like a combo finisher, and then you swap again, and you can continue attacking, or you can do the charge attacks if you want to. And she's got like these butterfly things. The more butterflies you have on you, the faster the charge attacks goes. So she's got a couple of mechanics like that play off of that particular situation. And, you know, I could sound off about a bunch of other characters, like, for instance, the character with the spear. Her name is Zeta. She just kind of, like, jumps into the air like a dragoon and then just does 3 attacks from the air, where she can kind of, like, bounce off of the boss, bounce back into the air, go again, and then bounce again, and then go again. And it feels really nice to play. So, suffice it to say, for a lot of people who might be thinking, oh, does every character play exactly the same? From the demo, that definitely does not appear to be the case. Each character has its own gimmick. Each character has a certain degree of depth, even though I wouldn't say, oh, it's as deep as like a Monster Hunter weapon. From the showcase that we've gotten here, they still appear to have quite a bit of mechanics to them that make it rewarding enough if you are using skillful play. It definitely feels much better than if you are just mashing buttons. Because like I said, even Charlotta, which is the one that you can kind of like mash square to go super fast with her attacks, if you're just mashing square, you're going to get hit multiple times. So you need to master the ability to be able to parry with triangle or get out of the way of enemy attacks. Because otherwise, you're never really going to get into a good flow of just slashing away like a maniac. Now, another important thing that I should point out is that in the demo, you only really have access to 5 skills per character. So this is just to give you an idea of how you can go ahead and build each character with the different skills that you have available to you. So they give you 4 skills that you're going to be able to equip, and then they give you an extra skill that you can choose to replace one of the 4 skills that your character comes with. So that doesn't really give us a super solid idea of just how diverse these are going to be, but if you actually watch the showcase, you will notice that these characters actually get a lot more skills. This is done through a system which is the mastery points progression, which is kind of like where you go when you just get a whole bunch of points as you are playing through the game, get these points that are called MSP, and you can apply those points in the mastery progression tree, and that is going to give you access to new skills for each of the characters. Essentially, the idea is by the time you finish the build of your character, you will be able to fill out the entirety of the mastery points. So this is more of a progression system than necessarily a build-defining system. The only thing you're really choosing is which one of these things am I going to be getting first. And this is divided into 2 different trees, which is a more offensive one that also gives you active skills from what I can tell in the showcase. Again, showcase was in Japanese. They did translate it a little bit, but when I'm looking at the footage, the stuff that's on screen is still in Japanese, so I don't have a particularly good idea. But the second tree that you gain access to in the mastery points, it just says HP, so I'm assuming it's more of a defensive thing, so you'll be able to put more defensive. So you have a more offensive side of the mastery point system and a more defensive side of the mastery point system. However, one of the things that we also learned is that there is a third side to that mastery tree, which was actually interesting because it was something that I wasn't expecting. You see, in this game, as you are playing through the game, you will be able to create new weapons for each of the characters. This is done by you collecting materials from quests, and not only you create weapons, but you also upgrade existing weapons. You guys are like, oh, so the idea is that you just get the best possible weapon that you can for a certain character, and then you just upgrade that and Bob's your uncle. However, that is not going to be the case. I mean, sure, you do want to get the best weapon, you do want to upgrade it, and you probably want to use that weapon, but you will also be given a reason to create other weapons, even if you don't want to use them. And you might be wondering, well, why? Because weapons unlock additional paths in your mastery tree. So you see, like I told you, there's 3 different paths, not paths, but there's 3 different tabs in that tree. One of them is the offensive tab, the other one's the more defensive tab that says HP, and the third one is a weapons tab. The weapons tab, as you create new weapons, each weapon is going to have like its own little progression path that gives you passive bonuses. You don't need to have a weapon equipped in order to get passive bonuses from it. So you craft the weapon, and then eventually you upgrade it, and these weapons go through like a limit break process as well, which is going to require materials. Bear in mind, I realize that because Granblue Fantasy is associated with a gacha game, you guys are listening about all of these upgrade systems, and you're thinking, oh, so it's going to involve like some type of Korean progression system that's going to be super punishing, and I'm going to have to spend real money on it. And no, none of that. All of this is done through materials that you collect by playing the game, by doing missions. So the idea is you're going to be able to target these materials. As a matter of fact, they even give you an example in the showcase where they say, oh, I need this ruthenium material. So you can straight up wish list that material, and then you go into the quest counter and you can straight up filter quests by the quest that gives you that material. So the whole idea is that you're going to be able to target these upgrade materials by just playing the game. And as far as I'm aware, none of it is going to be something that is going to be sold by microtransactions or anything of that nature. It is all about the grind. And as a matter of fact, the vibe that I got from the developers in the presentation, I definitely don't think that this team is going to be doing any type of shady stuff. Because even when it comes to the assist systems, which, by the way, the game has this assist system that lets you play the game without needing to dodge. The game will dodge for you. There's even a system which is full assist mode, which is just for somebody that wants to experience the story. And, you know, the character will dodge automatically, will attack automatically. All you have to do is, like, use the left stick to go with your character to places, and the game will do everything else by itself. This is for people that just want to enjoy the story. And one of the things developers said is that if you go into an endgame fight, you cannot use these systems. They even referred to it as taking off your training wheels, which I was like, oh wow, respect. I'm not sure that I expected them to do something like that, but they're like, no, for the end game, no assists, you have to play the game just like everybody else. And I was like, cool. So it tells me that the developers care at least a little bit about the integrity of the game itself, and they want everybody to be on a level playing field. Not only that, I also really appreciated the fact that the devs were very careful about spoilers while they were talking about the game. And even with the demo, if you play the demo, you know, the first mission is just, hey, kill a bunch of goblins. They don't really give you a whole lot of spoilers about the context of that mission, about why you're there. It's just like, hey, we're going to save these people. There's goblins, whatever. Kill a bunch of goblins, loot some treasure, cool beans. Which to me, big ups for not revealing any of that. The missions that we do, they reveal like 2 boss fights, and that's pretty much it. And even those boss fights feel like pretty low-level boss fights, like the equivalent of revealing, I don't know, a Great Jagras and a cool Yaku or something like that. So I really appreciated the fact that developers took care with that stuff, so I don't expect a whole lot of, manipulative tactics, so to speak. So once again, if you want to fully master a character, you're going to be expected to play that character, research the entirety of its mastery tree, and on top of it, craft every single weapon that character can craft, which it appears to be quite a few, and then fully upgrade every single weapon, because that is going to give you passive benefits, because you do not need to upgrade to actually equip those weapons to get the benefits from them. At least this is what they said in the showcase, unless there was a mistranslation there somewhere, which was something that I was not expecting. So, this gives you an idea of just the level of customization that you're going to be having on your character. And you guys are like, okay, so you have your 4 skills that you get to choose from a pool of more than 4. We don't know exactly how many they are. I think that in the showcase, some of the characters had like 8 skills, maybe even 10 skills. So I don't know how many skills you're going to be having, but those skills are going to be active skills that you're actually going to be using. So that is going to be point 1 of your build. The second point of your build is going to be what weapon you're going to equip, because different weapons also bring with them different passive skills that are specific to that weapon. Some of those passive effects are going to be a part of the mastery tree, like I said, which you get either way, but there are also effects that are specific to that weapon. So a certain weapon might have a little bit more crit, another weapon might have a little bit more stun, and choosing the weapon and choosing the skills is going to be a part of you deciding what build you are doing. Now, there is a final piece of this puzzle, which is really how you're going to customize the rest of your build, which is the sigil system. See, in this game, you don't really craft armor or anything like that. So instead of that, you're going to be getting sigils. These sigils, apparently, you can win them from doing quests, and you can also trade for them in one of the NPCs in town and stuff like that. So you're going to be able to collect this. It's almost like decorations in Monster Hunter, if that makes sense. So, and those sigils are going to give you passive bonuses. Now, I believe there's also going to be sigils that are going to be significantly more complex, especially with the conversations that I had with 2.6, because he got to play the game behind the scenes with the developers and stuff like that, and he was given access to a build that had a lot more stuff than what the demo has. In the demo, these things are fairly simple. They give you like 3 different levels of a skill, so you can choose, oh, I want more HP on this character, I want more stun power on this character, I want more stamina. And stamina in this game is actually almost like, what do you call it? I forget, the peak performance in Monster Hunter. So the higher your health is, the more damage you do. So, there's skills like that. There's another one which reduces your hit points and increases your damage. So there's some skills that give you a bit of a trade-off. There's other skills that just like flat damage increases. There's critical chance. All of the stuff that you would expect from your basic RPG, that is going to be something that you're going to be able to do with these sigils. Now, I believe that eventually you'll unlock sigils that are going to be specific to the skills in your character, and they might even change a little bit how each of those skills work, and that is how you're actually going to be making a build for your character, right? You get the active skills that you're using, you get the sigils that further benefit those particular skills or that benefit the stats that increase the damage of those skills. And then you're going to be getting a specific weapon that's going to give you more benefit from that. And then eventually that is how you tailor your build. And eventually you're going to be unlocking other characters naturally. And that is going to be, the way that you're going to get some diversity in the game. As a matter of fact, I would actually recommend people to not focus exclusively on one character from my experience in the demo. Because if you're trying to really optimize the crap out of yourself for each of these hunts, there is a system of elemental weakness built into the game, which you can actually see in the demo already. Whenever you go up to the quest selection, they'll tell you what element the boss is weak to. So, for instance, the 2 bosses that you have in here, because one of the other encounters is a horde encounter, just a bunch of goblins, but the 2 bosses that you have in the game, those are actually weak to wind. And therefore, you will want to start your Skybound Arts, which is like your ultimate attack. You'll want to start that with a character that has the wind element. Because when you do that, then once you all do your special ultimate attack, the boss gets one more attack that he receives, and that the element of that attack is dictated by the person who did the very first Skybound art. So therefore, if you're fighting these bosses that are weak to wind, you want to initiate the Skybound combo with a wind-infused character. So ideally, you will want to focus on getting one character of each element, I think. So you choose the characters from each element that you like the most, and you try to master those a little bit, so that when you're really going after those clutch times in, trying to achieve all of the bonus objectives that they give you on each of these quests, you have the appropriate element to deal additional damage to what the boss is weak to. Now, the developers did say that this is not something that is mandatory, so you can just bring whatever character you want. I'm just saying this from a super mega min-max optimization mode, if that is something that you are interested in, because fundamentally one of the things that I noticed in the demo is that missions aren't hard to complete. As a matter of fact, I said it multiple times during my stream, this demo is super easy. Like, the story mode is easy, and the monsters that you face off in the other missions are also super easy. However, if you then try and get like full max ranking on those missions, then you're going to be sweating a little bit. And I kind of feel like that is going to be the thing that a lot of players are going to be doing, with the exception of like really, really super endgame stuff, because in the showcase they showed a boss that is coming, Lucilius or whatever his name is, and he just one-shotted, not one-shotted, but very close to one-shotted all of the developers with max level characters and all that stuff. And that just kind of shows, you know, we have aspirational content that you will want to check out, but, you know, a decent chunk of the content in the game is going to be accessible. It's just your level of skill is going to dictate how fast you progress through the game, because you're going to be getting more rewards. That, to me, appears that is where the challenge is going to lie. It is actually going to be in trying to achieve the super maximum S rank in all of the fights that you are doing. Even though you can finish most fights, it's just a matter of how well do you finish these fights, right? Like, do you get a C rating? Do you get a B rating? Or do you want to get the S++? And if you want to get the S++, that is going to require quite a bit of mastery of your character, unless there's some unbalances or whatever. We can't really tell right now. But overall, I really enjoyed what I've experienced of the game. Like I was saying at the start, which actually is a point that I forgot to get back to, because I record these as a one-take willy. But one of the things that I'm actually concerned is about the mission variety, because you have the campaign and you have the missions that you can do in multiplayer in the demo. And the missions that you do in multiplayer are basically arenas. So, you know, oh, I'm going to fight this boss. And they just throw you into arena with a boss. You fight the boss dies, you all hop out. That's it. Those are all the missions that we have in the demo. One of those arenas is a horde mode, so there's a bunch of goblins come in, you kill the goblins, boom, done. The other arena is like this thing called the Quackadile, and the other one is the Rock Golem, and that's it. Those are all of the arenas that we have. And now my concern is that I was hoping there would be a couple of multiplayer quests that would actually involve navigating a level like you do in the story mission. And right now, I don't know if that is going to be the case or not. Is that a deal breaker for me? No. I'm totally down for just like fighting raid bosses and having a good time, but like I said, I would also like to go through some levels in multiplayer, because I feel like that would be fun, and it doesn't seem like that is something that they thought about, or at least if it is, I haven't really seen that in gameplay. Because like, we've seen gameplay where there's 4 characters playing, but I believe that those are AI controlled characters plus 1 player character. But those are my conclusions up until this point. If you know any information to the contrary, please do let me know in the comment section down below, because like I said, most of the information that we know about this game is in Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese, so it makes it a little bit harder to cover. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the content, do hit that like button, subscribe, bell, notification icon, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.